Picture this: the roar of mighty hybrid engines, a long shadow stretching over the city skyline, and the altitude of Mexico City pressing down on every corner, every tire, every sparkle of carbon fiber. It's Friday, the morning light at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez hallway, glinting off helmets and mirrors, and the first free practice session, FP1, for the 2025 Mexico City Grand Prix is underway. But don't be fooled. Practice doesn't mean passive. In a weekend stacked with big storylines, FP1 has more to tell than you might expect. Here's the situation. This year's FP1 session is more than just familiar rubber hitting dirty asphalt. By regulation this season, teams are required to give track time to less experienced drivers during FP1. As a result, 9 of the 10 teams brought rookies or reserve drivers into the session. So, instead of the regular driver pairing all battling for one-lap glory, what we saw was a mix: seasoned pros, fresh faces, and data gathering in full swing. On top of that, we have the challenge of Mexico City itself. High altitude, thin air, reduced downforce, tires working differently, and even the dusty track surface adding complexity. So buckle in. We're about to unpack FP1 in all its depth: the numbers, the unspoken strategy, the rookies stepping up, and what it might mean for the weekend ahead. The session began under the usual Friday vibe: cars rolling out, steering wheels briefly clutched, engineers scribbling on data pads, tires screeching. What immediately jumped out was the track condition. Early laps showed the surface as dusty and lacking grip, a typical trait in Mexico City after the venue's long break from heavy running, especially with altitude effects, meaning less cooling, less grip, more challenge. We saw some early times over the 1 minute 20 seconds mark, slower than what you might hope. But as the session progressed, teams switched to soft tires, took cleaning laps, and the times dropped sharply. When the softs are fitted, the pace comes alive. Eventually, the benchmark time of 1 minute 18.380 seconds came from Charles Leclerc driving for Scuderia Ferrari. Close behind, at just 0.107 seconds slower, was Kimi Antonelli in a Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team machine. In third, about plus 0.380 seconds off the leader, came Nico Hülkenberg in the second of the Kick Sauber cars. And rounding out the early top 5 was Oscar Piastri of McLaren F1 team, who, despite being one of the few championship regulars in the car, had a lap plus 0.404 seconds off Leclerc. Now, why should we care about these numbers beyond the raw timesheet? Because in a session dominated by development rather than who's fastest today, the details matter. Let's break down some of the key threads. With 9 teams opting to run a junior/rookie driver in FP1, the dynamic is altered. The full-season drivers get less time to tinker in FP1, which means more uncertainty in the weekend setup. For example, at Red Bull, the car was driven by Arvid Lindblad in place of Max Verstappen, and Lindblad delivered an impressive time of 1 minute 18.997 seconds. 6th overall, the best of the non-regular racers. Understand? That is not about championship drivers battling for pole. It's about measurement runs, getting data, understanding tires, balance, and the track. And when a rookie manages to show up near the top of that timing board, it signals their team have done some homework, but also that the full-time driver might only reveal their true pace later. Mexico City is over 2,200 meters above sea level. The air is thinner. That has real consequences: less downforce, less cooling for brakes and engines, differently behaving tires. Combine that with a surface that's green, lacking rubber laid down, and you have a session where managing the car is as big a deal as outright speed. For the tires, working window of operations is narrower. The grip evolves more from lap to lap, and long-run pace matters. The early laps in FP1 showed slower times as cars climbed in pace, the more the track cleaned up. Teams clearly used FP1 to gather more than just one-lap glory. Tire data, cooling runs, energy recovery system behavior, aero balance, and so on. Leclerc's pace indicates Ferrari are comfortable here in qualifying-style trim, or at least had the confidence to push. Their time of 1 meter 18.380 seconds puts them in good shape. Mercedes, too, with Antonelli very close behind, show they aren't far off. That bodes well for the weekend. For McLaren, Piastri's fourth showing signals they're in the game. But if he's off the benchmark by plus 0.404 seconds in what is somewhat a semi-practice session, it might point to extra work needed on race trim or tire management. Meanwhile, when a rookie like Lindblad grabs P6, that sends a signal about the depth and strength of the driver pool and how seriously the team are treating their long-run data. What we saw in FP1 probably won't predict the full outcome, but it sets breadcrumbs. For example, teams that have good one-lap pace here, Ferrari especially, likely carry that into qualifying. But the race is longer and altitude imposes different constraints: energy harvesting, engine cooling, tire wear. So perhaps the driver who finds a sweet long-run balance, handles the thin air, and manages tires will shine. Also, the rookie drive rule means many of the top drivers got less time in FP1 than usual. So the baseline each team builds off might be more uncertain. That could yield surprises in FP2/FP3 or into qualifying, especially if pit stops or overheating become an issue. It's not just about FP1 times, the championship fight is still alive. With some main drivers sitting out due to the rookie rule, the session was more about data than speed. Teams like Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull know every lap counts, especially in Mexico's thin air. Even early on, a strong FP1 performance builds confidence, momentum, and valuable insight for the rest of the weekend's battle ahead. Most of the rookies ended up toward the lower half of the timesheets. No surprise, considering the altitude, pressure, and limited track time. Still, a few stood out, showing impressive control and confidence around the demanding Mexico City circuit. With thin air, dusty conditions, and low grip levels, FP1 was no easy ride. Teams took it slow early on, cleaning the track and feeling out the surface before finally turning up the pace in the closing stages. The Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez always challenges drivers in unique ways. From its long main straight to those heavy braking zones and the iconic Forosol Stadium section, precision is everything. That's why FP1 was less about chasing lap times and more about learning, testing setups, understanding tires, and collecting every bit of data possible. Even though Charles Leclerc topped the charts, it's still just Friday. FP1 pace rarely tells the full story. Fuel loads, track evolution, and setup experiments can shuffle the order by Saturday. But make no mistake, the information gathered today from every corner and every sensor could be the key that separates the front runners from the rest when the lights go out on Sunday. So there you have it, FP1 at the 2025 Mexico City Grand Prix. An opening statement full of nuance, rookie runs, altitude challenges, and data missions. It might not be the full show yet, but we've glimpsed who is set up well, who still has work to do, and what to watch as we roll into the rest of the weekend. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more F1 deep dives, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our coverage of qualifying and race day. Drop a comment below and tell us, which driver surprised you most in FP1? And who do you think will be charging in the race? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you out on track.